to go into a little bit of background information about Aaron and I. I think you need to know where we came from, or else, you know, I wouldn't trust us unless I knew where we came from. Aaron, how were you? How old were you? What were you doing? I mean, were you in the backyard, you know, staring at the stars, or what were you doing when you knew that cars are what you wanted to do?
It really started out when I was 5 years old, and my dad bought me a go-kart. And by the time, give it about 3 or 4 hours that afternoon, once he gave me the go-kart, he knew he needed to make a dirt track because I was out in the driveway doing donuts not long after I had it. So I drove that for about 3 or 4 years, or maybe a little longer. Made a dirt track at the house there, got a bigger go-kart, you know, tore up more ground. So finally at that point, you know, around 14, 15, you're getting geared up for a car. So kind of moved in from a go-kart to a vehicle.
What was your first vehicle?
That's an interesting story. Me and my dad, we kind of looked around a little bit, seen one of his friends said, come up to my house. He had a garage and a body shop. He said, I got a couple vehicles that I want you to check out that may be good cars for Aaron. So the first vehicle I seen was a Maverick GT. Now this thing was pretty neat, yeah. Don't shun it right off. This thing was a 302, 3-speed on the column, red GT with a grabber hood. Had the black interior, bucket seats. You know, for a Maverick, you can't get real sporty, but this is as sporty as it got for a Maverick. And then, over beside the Maverick was a 72, dark green metallic Nova. The cool thing I remember seeing about this Nova was the front end was setting really high. So I said, let's check this vehicle out. So I got in, sat in the seat, you know, and man, I just felt right. So we just, you know, asked him, I was like, well, how come it's setting up so high? And he said, well, we don't have an engine in it. The engine that was in it that the guy had built was way too powerful for him and his son, so he thought, you know, that he's going to get killed in it. So he wanted to sell it, and he was having this guy, you know, build just a mild engine with it. So I went and got it, had a 350, had some 305 HO heads on it. That's what done it for me. When I got that car, you know, I proved a lot of people wrong in high school, especially about spinning tires in automatic. Everybody thought that you had to have a straight drive to spin tires. You know, I could spin forever in first and second gear, and you know, my friends would just come out and say, hey, you know, take a ride in Aaron's car, take a ride in Aaron's car. So usually every evening after high school, we'd have to go somewhere and I'd have to leave a good 50 or 60 foot black mark, you know, because I enjoyed it.
Of course.
And that kind of brought me into, I was driving it through my neighborhood by a garage, and there was a guy out there when I come by. He would always go like this, so I had to, sometimes I would spin the tire.
Put his hand up to
right,
his ear.
up to his ear.
Just trying to antagonize it. He wanted
right,
to hear it. Okay.
he wanted to hear it. So I'd lay down some rubber for him. Sometimes I'd get a couple gears. Sometimes I'd just, you know, take off wide open. So finally he motioned me in one day. I was like, oh crap, you know, did I do something wrong?
That's odd, yeah.
So he said, man, he said, I had a Nova just like that when I was young. He said, can I look at it? It sounds really good. So I let him look at it and everything.
And that is the most flattery right there. When you got a car guy wanting to see your car, that's huge flattery.
That's a big form of flattery to us.
Oh,
so.
yeah, that puts you way up there.
And he was checking it out. He's like, man, he said, the engine, you know, looks really good, because when the engine was put in it, they just thrown some things together, what he had left over in the garage, just to sell it. So I had done some things, kind of, you know, neatened it up, put some headers on it, changed the intake carburetor, done some things like that. You know, at 15, 16 years old. And he said, who done all this work? He says, really nice car. I was like, well, I done most of the top engine work, some things to it, and all that. And he said, how would you like a job? I was like, doing what? He said, well, he said, I'm new here and just got started, but business went very well, so he said, I need some extra help. That's kind of what I got in the car business. I started changing oil, doing things like that. This guy was a really big guy, so I ended up doing from oil changes to inside, doing heater cores, things where he couldn't get to. You know, if you know anything about the LS or the LT ones on the early 90 Camaros and Corvettes and like that, ended up doing a lot of spark plugs tune up for him because this man could not get into those.
Well, those are aggravating no matter what size you are.
So I worked there for a while. My friend that I went to school with, he was at a local dealership, and he was in the parts department, and he was waiting for a job to open in the service department. He was wanting to be a technician, so he's like, I'm getting ready to move in to be a tech. He said, if you want to work on cars, he said, we'll start you out in parts department. Come up, talk to my boss.
Well, that's cool.
Next thing I knew, I went up there for the interview, and during the interview process, he was telling me how to check in parts and told me where to park. I figured I was hired at that point.
Safe to say.
So, you know, at the time, me and my friend that had got me the job up there, we were going to our local college to get a diploma in automotive technology. So my goal at that point in time was to work in parts until a mechanic's job come open and do that. I kind of realized that I enjoy the parts department.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not getting dirty, and I may not be making that much money as he is, but I'm not spending, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on tools, toolboxes, and
Yeah, 10, 20, 30. I don't know what dream world you were living in.
well, this was
Like 50, 60, 70.
yeah. Well, this was, he was just starting out. He wasn't buying a lot of equipment, and it was a dealership. They provided a lot of equipment for him. So I quickly found out, and through my personality and just joy of working with people, I found out that I was really good at selling parts, dealing with people in the retail wholesale business. So that's pretty much how it started. I worked there for GM for about 6 years, and I currently work for GM still, a different parts department. Been working there almost 9 years. So I've seen a lot of parts come and go. I've seen a lot of failed parts.
Yeah.
As far as you're in, I haven't changed as many parts myself. I've done some things, so
No, you don't miss it that much.
that's pretty much my story on it. Give me an idea. How about you, Mike? When did you first know that you wanted to be where you're at today and own your own shop?
Well, I never wanted to own my own shop. That just kind of happened by accident. My grandfather started his shop, I don't know, back in the 50s. We've always had a shop. I grew up in a shop. I mean, that's all I know. Ever since I was 4 or 5, all I know is being around a shop. So we've always worked on stuff. I've always had some type of, from remote control car to goat cart. And, we were kind of poor, so my go-kart didn't run all the time. Okay, it ran very little of the time. So I'd go tinker with it and try to play with it and try to get it to run and all that jazz. And, sometimes tear up more than I ever fixed.
Hey, that's how you start.
Yeah.
You know what not to do.
I do know what not to do. I got my first car, and this is a horrible, horrible story. I got to run across a Dodge Daytona 85 model, Carroll Shelby edition. It was 86 model, Carroll Shelby edition. Beautiful car, piece of freaking junk. I ended up having to buy, because parts were so hard to get for it, ended up having to buy 2 more Dodge Daytona 2.2 turbos to fix that one, and I just never got it on the road. I got them when I was 14, and by the time I was 15 and a half, they still weren't roadworthy. That was partly due to my inability to, partly due to my lack of knowledge, and also partly due to they were just junk to begin with. So then I ended up with a 85 V6 automatic yellow Firebird as my first car.
Nice.
Yeah. I got my first actual paying job at one of the local oil change places when I was 17. And by the time I was 18, I was looking for a dealership job. I got a dealership job actually for GM. So really liked the GM. Just really like GM. I just kind of fell into it. I mean, I'm like you, we're GM guys. I mean, I work on everything, and I've got stuff that GM makes their mistakes just like everybody else. We could fight about it all day long and be nowhere, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Price's got some good product.
Yeah, no matter what you like.
Than anybody.
Yeah. That is true.
Some good Asian stuff out there, Honda, Toyota, Nissan, that kind of thing. Some good German stuff out there. I'm a Volkswagen fan myself, and they're really messed up. Volkswagen, I'm Germans. I don't know what. They're still mad about something.
It's all the beer.
I don't know what it is. It's all that warm beer. No wonder they're mad. I ought to refrigerate that stuff every now and again. So for me, it's just, like I said, my grandfather ran a body shop up until 75, and then he ran a body shop up until he died in 93, actually, to be honest. He was actually a service manager for Ford locally until he got tired of that, and then, like I said, started his own body shop. Mm-hmm. So, and then Dad, we've always owned the garage. Dad didn't really so much do it for the public so much. And it's just kind of, what I fell into. I just never really thought about it because I never really had an option. I always wanted to run a garage, never really wanted to own a garage. But I couldn't find anybody that I really wanted to work for besides me. So that's what happened there. I loved my training I got from GM. I also did I spent 4 years in the Air Force, did electronic warfare. Really learned a lot about electronics. That's what gives me the diagnostic edge over most people in my area. Not just, area, Mm-hmm. I don't know about everybody else, but understanding electronics really helps me out in my field.
Oh, yeah.
And I really love the diagnostic end of it. I feel like that about anybody can change parts. I mean, mm-hmm. service manager at the dealership when I started there changing oil. He told me every day that I was there. You know, they trained a monkey to change oil. Apparently, back in the '80s, there was a commercial where they trained a monkey to change oil. So he let me know every day that he could replace me with a monkey.
Well, at least you got encouraged.
Yeah, my self-esteem was high. So I knew that just being a parts changer or being good at that was never going to get me to where I needed to be. You got to find the niche. And that's why I wanted to do Air Force electronics to really give me that edge. And serve my country. All is fun and well.
What else did you get from the Air Force that kind of?
Well, to help me in the automotive field?
Yeah.
Well, Air Force is all about procedure. If you go by their engineering TOs, they're called technical orders, because I worked on a radar jamming pod. That's about all I can say about it. But if you go by their procedures, it could take you a month to fix a problem if you go step by step by step per what the engineer says. I was told this by a really smart guy that's still in my life every now and again, that he told me one day, he said, you can see it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you can see it. You can close your eyes and you can see it in your head. I said, well, I never really thought about it like that, but yeah, because I studied the schematics so much and I studied the way it operated and the description and operation of every system. So when a system did fail and we didn't get the proper output from the input that we had or whatever the case may be, I kind of knew in my head where to start. I could kind of bypass a lot of steps from what the engineer wrote and just kind of wing it and figure it out. I mean, not so much winging it. I knew what I was doing, and like I said, just kind of see it. It's the same in the car. I can just kind of see it. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it just kind of happened. I just got a kind of a knack for it. I'm good at, I fix things. I'm not good at fixing people though. Psychology, not good at.
So hence why you own a garage.
Yeah,
not a psychologist.
This is a Norris Auto Clinic, not Norris Psychology, and I don't cut hair either.
So kind of what you're saying is the greater knowledge you have about what you're working on, the more you can see it in your head, how it operates and what could cause it to fail.
Well, in my head, I follow through the steps as far as like engine mechanical, okay, as far as air coming into the cylinder, the valves closing, the compression building, all this stuff just transfers in my head, or like even electricity. I can see the voltage commanding the injector to actually pull the plunger, create the magnetic field to open, to release that certain amount of fuel for that 2.5 to 5 milliseconds, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, it's just really you got to see it in your head. Like I said, I know it's hard to explain, hard to understand. There's probably a few people that will, be like, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. But it took me a long time to understand that. I mean, I study a lot. I still, read my popular science and popular mechanics, and I'm actually reading a physics textbook now. I mean, bit of a nerd.
Nothing wrong with that. So what drives you daily?
I like to fix things.
Like to fix things.
That gives me satisfaction and purpose. Fixing things.
Fixing things.
I mean, with you, you don't fix things, but you help situations and you help people.
I help people fix things.
I know I buy parts from you. And with you, you always help me get the right part. You make sure you go the extra mile for me personally, and you make sure I get it in a timely manner.
As I do all my customers.
I know if Aaron tells me I'm going to get something, I'm going to get something. I know I can mark it down and it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And I enjoy just being able to interpret what the people tell me and kind of put everything together from what they come in with. Because like our question email, sometimes you have to kind of fill in the gaps, read between the lines. And, as far as the automotive world and somebody wanting something on a vehicle, wanting a part, I've become good at, determining what they're wanting, possibly what's causing or what's failing, and kind of get the information out of them to figure out, that's what I need.
And that is truly a talent. What you're doing is deductive reasoning. So it takes your experience, plus you have to have a talent for it to actually depict what the customer is saying. There is so much vocabulary in the automotive world. I have seen one part called literally 10 different things that are not related whatsoever.
Even by the same manufacturer.
Yeah, they're real good about that. And so it takes a lot of experience and actual just raw talent to depict what in the world this customer is trying to tell me they need. But you just have that knack where you want to help people and you really want to find out what they need to make their life better and fix that car. Because once the car is fixed, our life is always better.
It's always better.
We get paid, the customer's happy, and we can,
They can drive, they can get to ballet school, take the kids, Cub Scouts.
Or, get to the bar, get a drink.
That's the mechanic after he's worked all day on the car.
Oh, yeah. Don't ever question if your mechanic drinks. The answer is always yes.
Yeah, we just wanted to give you a little bit of information about us, who we are, and kind of why we're doing what we're doing.
Always feel free to get a hold of us any way, shape you can. We're on Facebook, Auto Clinic, whatever Facebook link that is.
It's Auto Clinic page.
Correct, on Facebook. We're autoeclinic.com. Email us at autoeclinic@gmail.com. Any questions, concerns, anything you need. We will try to get back to you in a timely response. Once again, Aaron and I both do have full-time jobs, so we're trying to get this done whenever we get free time, plus take care of the wives and the kids and all that jazz, plus fix cars or sell parts and all that jazz. It's fun.
Yep.
Never a dull moment.
No, it's not. Especially when you eat chili before you do your radio pilot.
Don't do it. And why does a cow have a bell?
Why does a cow have a bell?
Because its horn don't work.